Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Monday edition of Moohead Radio. I'm your host, a big and furry bovine. As promised, being Monday, we're doing a program. And I certainly know that this is getting more and more difficult for people to view the program just because there are no sports. But there are things that are happening in the world that might be changing that relatively soon. And we try to talk about the things that are factors in that at this point, and also some news that's coming out of the world of sports that will probably end up chapping your ass anyway. Uh, what I have to do right now is what I usually do, which is grab the link. Oh, here's Rick. Rick is just a little bit late. We'll fire him in there, even though you could have done that, Rox. You've been given the power. Uh, you got the power.
You were a split second ahead of me.
Quick hooves, you know. Um, so what we're gonna do first is I'm gonna put the link onto Facebook. So no, actually, I'm gonna put the link on Twitter. And okay, it's one thing I do not like about this. And now I will also put the link to the program itself if you want to be in the studio for any reason and be a guest visitor. This will go up right now into the uh, the the YouTube chat. So not that I see anybody rushing at this point to participate in the program, but what the hell? Uh, I have my own reputation at stake, whatever the fuck my reputation is. Something interesting, and the winds of change are blowing. And when the winds of change are blowing, you have to ask yourself why. And we had Mike Pence now coming out and saying, got to wear masks. And we have Mitch McConnell now coming out and saying, we got to wear masks. And I want to point something out because I've been having conversations with Don Carpenter, AKA Doc, from back when with the Power Pig. And he's a guy who is a big time air personality. He's actually in the Country Disc Jockey Hall of Fame, very talented air personality, and somebody who is of the opposite side of the street from me politically. But he and I have struck up a nice relationship online without dirty pictures going back and forth. So it's not that kind of relationship. And I think we both want to remind everybody in all of this that masks do not cure COVID. Masks do not prevent COVID in and of itself. You can wear a mask and still get COVID, but masks have become a big separation point politically. And it has become almost like an act of defiance. The question when President Trump comes out to address the public is he going to wear a mask or not? And it's really gotten to the point where it's kind of irritating to me. Pence was not wearing a mask, and then that drew attention. And then people started wearing masks everywhere. You see people driving in their cars by themselves wearing a mask. It's like, what are you afraid of? Are you afraid you are going to recirculate your own air? Because if that's a danger, you already have it. I don't quite understand. This whole mask thing has taken on a life of its own. But we want to remind everybody, and we're talking from both sides politically here, that the mask is a good thing to wear if you are in, for any reason, tight quarters with people. That's a good thing, okay? But to think that you just throw a mask on and you're not going to get the disease, we're proving that to be false as well. It's large assemblages of people in enclosed areas. But the winds of change that I was referring to is that you can always tell when the wind changes. Well, if you live close enough to a sewage dump, you can definitely know when the wind changes. And in politics, the wind changes when people start changing their tune. And now all of a sudden, when we start getting people who were previously either silent or we're saying that masks are, that it makes you look weak or whatever. And now with urgency are stating we have to wear masks, and that goes for the vice president and that goes for Mitch McConnell as well. Uh, Breaking ranks with the president of the United States, who will never wear a mask because he's doing it for the wrong reason as well. And a lot of people are doing this for the wrong reason on the other side of the aisle too, because if you're, like I said, if you're walking in an open field looking at the daisies and wearing a mask, you're really not accomplishing anything. So I just wanted to say that when things start changing, I start noticing those changes, and it's all due to politics. Mitch McConnell is going to be in an election either with an African-American opponent or with the lady jet fighter, and I don't even know their names in Kentucky. But they're right now in the primary phase. It's taking forever, of course, to get the results in. And we're still waiting for an election that took place last week to find out who won that. But McConnell is up for re-election, and he is now starting to kind of saying, well, this whole mask thing is not working real well in my favor on my campaign, because they research stuff like that. And the same thing can be said for the vice president, who realizes that his future political fortunes might well depend on maybe broadening the spectrum a little bit as far as his potential electorate base. But it doesn't change the safety factor in terms of protecting ourselves against COVID. The only thing that's going to protect us is being sensible, and that's not jamming people into a room. It's not touching your face, okay? I mean, you can wear a mask, quite honestly, and whether it's a surgical mask, an N95 mask, and you go into a grocery store and you're buying your bags of flour, your bags of pasta, whatever, and you're touching everything in the store. Okay. And then if you turn around and you touch your face, you got to wash your hands. You got to sanitize. And this is simple stuff, folks. This has got nothing to do with masks per se. This is sanitizing. This is really hygiene 101. If you touch your mask with your hands and they're infected, and you take the mask off with your hands and the mask is infected from the outside, and then you touch your face, babooey, you have a good chance of getting COVID. So, let's be sane about this, and let's talk about some sports today rather than worrying ourselves about imminent demise. Glad to see we got
as you were saying the don't touch your face thing. I just had that image from Total Recall of Arnold sticking that thing up his nose and pulling out the tracking sensor.
Yeah, I mean it's really kind of if you feel an itch, and you're in a public place and you're wearing, don't scratch, or if you're going to scratch, really sanitize your hands. A lot of grocery stores have lots of sanitizer now. Just be smart about what you do. Now the big thing is, wow, how smart Bill Belichick is. Well, he got Cam Newton, and we're sitting there going, yeah, we've been talking about Cam Newton for how long? And it's almost like the second the Patriots do something, it's, Barkevius Bingo was no stroke of genius by the Browns and was no stroke of genius by Bill Belichick either, okay? So not everything that the Patriots do is solid gold. And they cheat, and they just got fined $1.1 million and lost a draft pick because of it. So it's not that they've become any different or better. They're still the same old crumb bums they used to be, but they got Cam Newton. We're going to start with Rick. Rick, does this matter? I mean, now they're saying, they're predicted for first place now in their division. Should the AFC East be trembling at this point?
Maybe a little bit more concerned than if Stidham may have been the starting quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, Newton at least has a bit of a track record with regard to playoff football. He's been there, at least he knows. The question mark, I suppose, is going to be just exactly how healthy is he, and how well he can work with Josh McDaniel as his offensive coordinator. A little different probably between him and working with Norv Turner over at Carolina. And somehow I can't see the makeup and the mentality of Newton working in tandem with Belichick. I just keep seeing them, butting heads like a couple of Rams, because I don't think either one wants to give in to the others to say, this way is the better way, but it'll at least be interesting. And it will, and if they stick with mostly a ground game anyway, and if Cam's healthy enough to run, that's going to give them an extra pair of legs, and it could make the AFC East a little bit more interesting than what it was.
Well, the thing that's interesting about Cam Newton is everything you say about his being headstrong is obviously quite true. But at the same time, he's at the point where he's one step away from being gone. A little over $7.5 million, and what would normally be a $13 million guy. The Patriots have dipped in for a year. This is a prove-it year for Cam Newton. And Stidham was not going to be the starting quarterback, no matter what they said in New England. That was not going to happen. And so they're getting the veteran guy. 1 year to prove that you're still of the ability, if in fact the season comes off. And I think that you're not going to see waves from Cam Newton because his future income is really at stake. And what we found is that seems to be the most important thing to a lot of athletes, is that they can will themselves to have another good year if his shoulder is intact. Okay.
What's to stop Belichick from cutting him just before the season starts and going with Stidham anyway?
Yeah.
So long, it's been good to know you. On to Cincinnati.
Yeah, but I do think that, what I saw of him the last time he threw the football, his shoulder was shot. And Steve Rose, I was going to bring you in here, but then you just disappeared. So
he's in the room.
Yeah, I see him in the room.
Oh, you did it. You beat me to it,
there
Rock.
he is.
Barely.
Well, our mystery contestant, enter and sign in, please.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, Bronk, Cam Newton, does it make a damn bit of difference?
I mean, do I even look like I care?
What?
Do I even look like I care? I mean, explain to me how he might be different from RG3?
Well, he's got a better arm than RG3. He's got a bigger body, and his
and no wrecked knees.
Right.
No wrecked knees.
He's a damn sharp dresser.
What injuries has he had? I thought he had a leg problem.
Well, I mean,
I think he had it was a heel or an ankle problem.
Was it Linfrac or that?
No idea.
Well, I mean, look at it this way. Cam Newton can run the football, if nothing else, and Tom Brady didn't have a strong arm last year. And if they're going to go with shorter patterns, maybe they can hide some deficiencies if Cam Newton's arm is not 100% of what it was prior.
Think about New England. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Bronk. Finish up.
Thing about New England is that their defense scored more than their fucking offense last year. Their defense absolutely ripped to shreds virtually every team they played. So to be, they're going to look for a caretaker quarterback. They're not going to want Newton running around. They're not going to want anybody running around. They're just going to do the 5-yard pass to whoever, Edelman or Krunks or whoever they find. Josh Gordon, whatever. It doesn't fucking matter. Their defense will still score 2 touchdowns a game.
Mr. Muad, Cam Newton does have Liz Frank.
Say again?
He has Liz Frank.
Oh, yeah. The Liz Frank injury. Yeah.
Not Anne Frank, but Liz Frank.
Yeah, so we talked about Anne Frank and Liz Frank before.
Yeah.
So it was a
That's why you have a pain in your head.
You don't want to deny either one of them.
So
I really like her, the little toys that she has and the cards and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
thank you.
Toys in the attic.
So, I mean, Stephen, do you see the Cam Newton thing as being, is it just that they're starved for news? I mean, is that something we're supposed to go jumping up and down over for New England?
I think they're better off starting with the other quarterback they had. What was his name? Stidham or Stidham
Yeah.
or Stidham? Yeah, they're better off going with that. I think Cam Newton's days are past him. It's nothing personal, but he's got the Liz Frank injury. He's had several arm injuries. I think the guy's done, man.
Jim, any opinion there?
They always seem to figure out some way to drag people off the scrap heap and do something with them. More, if Cam Newton ends up becoming healthy, this is a once again another amazing deal for them. He'll greatly contribute. If he doesn't, they'll get rid of him, and everybody will be happy, and we'll move along.
Well, I mean, they got him on a 1-year deal anyway, so it's not like
not as
no harm, no foul.
Right. It's the interesting story is the fact that some people have been reporting that the Cleveland Browns were interested, and at some point in time, allegedly very close to signing Newton as well. Which, don't we have enough quarterback issues with Keenum and Mayfield? I mean, do we just need to add more shit to this? How much more shit can we add onto this thing?
Well,
I don't know.
We're doing Joe Pesci here. If you don't realize what the reference, I'm not even looking at his. I've got something up on my screen that I'm looking at, but I know basically that
on your screen
he did that pose. I bet, right?
Yes, I did.
And your biological clock, yeah.
Well, they fuck you at the drive-thru. Patriots every time. They fuck you at the drive-thru.
The other thing that I wanted to share is Bob Kraft's new girlfriend, which is something that's making the rounds on social media. And,
the 40-year-old or a different one?
No, this is his new girlfriend.
It's a fan?
I mean, yeah,
it's a fan.
A really big fan.
It's a big fan.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of yours, Bob.
Yeah, she's working from home, all right. Sorry, Lily. Had to get Lily on the program somehow.
Lily benched up.
Yeah, exactly. She's tired.
Everything with all the waste is kaput.
So, talking about guys who are finished, the Lakers are sure enough finalizing a deal with J.R. Smith. So, LeBron wants, LeBron gets. There's nothing new about that. He's going to be a towel waver. Can't imagine J.R. Smith hitting the floor. But the one thing that we know about J.R. Smith is that he can oddly be in good shape, in good physical condition if he's really working out. And if he's been working out real hard, they might feel that he'll look good waving the towel on the bench.
Well, he can still get hot. He can still get hot. If he comes in and shoots 4 3-pointers and makes 3 of them, then, he's worth it.
And JR does play well after LeBron, though. He does. So, I mean, if LeBron's passing the ball, he takes the open shot, he's going to take it, he's going to hit it.
Exactly.
Unless for that one time when he dribbles around.
Yeah, well, he won't be playing in overtime. Let's put it that way.
If they do, he better be wearing a clock around his neck like Flavor Flav, or else we're going to have to see the same thing over again.
Wow.
Now, probably is probably one of the great words in the English language, especially when it appears in a headline.
Here we go.
Oh.
Probably?
I can't even remember back that far.
So you're saying there's a chance?
Exactly. I mean, come on. Oh my God.
Hey,
you're breaking up. You're breaking up, Stephen.
He's breaking up, Captain. We can't hold it any longer.
Yeah, we can't hold it any longer.
She's breaking up.
The Lubbock Avalanche Journal. Oh,
breaking up is hard to do.
Where is Lubbock? I know it's in Texas, but where exactly in Texas?
It's
more towards the western part.
Towards where you are.
All my love, all my kisses. You don't know what you've been missing, oh boy.
So, because Texas is obviously huge, and there's bits of it that have loads of COVID, and bits of it that have none whatsoever.
No, Lubbock is actually up toward, if I'm correct, oil country. It's on the southern part of where the oil country is in Texas. What's the city where that's famous for the oil in Texas, where all the wildcatters were hitting many decades ago?
Plano?
No, that's where people were taking hits, but they weren't hitting oil.
Wow.
I forget.
Where was Friday Night Lights at?
That was Plano, I think.
Permian. The Permian Basin. That was a big oil
Yeah.
field.
Oh, yeah. That's right. That's right. Yeah. I mean, Lubbock, I believe, is on the south end of that, and then at the top there was the larger city that was an oil city, and I can't remember the name of it. But I mean,
That's where Texas.
but I mean, it's not an absolutely dead area. But as far as Johnny Manziel, dead is dead. You know,
Hey,
this
I'll go back on the show so long that I remember Bouchel complaining about him being drafted by the Browns. That's how long ago this was. You know?
Well, look at this. I'm highlighting this. During that time when I got drafted, I didn't put in the time that I needed to be a great player, and I don't think my heart was in it. It's like, please, I don't want to hear from this asshole.
Oh, wow. Talk about epic self-awareness there, man.
Yeah, and then I think when I went back to Canada, it was the same way. I truly believed and truly thought it was what I wanted to do, but my heart wasn't in it, and it worked out the way it did. Well, Johnny, what in the fuck is your heart into? I mean,
They have My Heart Will Go On. They can play right now.
Yeah, I mean, if your life was a league, you wrecked it. God, make it stop.
Well, look, it's Swan Lake.
And here's something that everybody is. What are you humming for?
The theme from Titanic.
Oh, I was
I was
wondering.
expecting Rox to come in with the lyrics, but I was given an intro and she wasn't coming in, so.
Oh, I was just here to support you.
I
I was all into the humming.
Far, wherever you are.
He's gonna drown. Jack's gonna drown.
There's
He
room on the
dies.
board. Just move over, you fat pal.
Here,
That's
grab this
rocks
bowling
for
ball.
you. She's as supportive as a Victorian fucking girdle for you.
Wow. Kate Winslet.
Here's something.
Just keep yanking.
TV is going to be TV, and you know, it is a follow the leader, a lemming industry, a monkey see, monkey do. And when you hit the big time with the Michael Jordan documentary, it was only a matter of time until this happened. That's right, not Lily. Netflix to produce 6-part series on Colin Kaepernick.
How timely.
Wow.
I know there's the sound of, you know, it's like 6 parts.
The only thing that would make me watch that is if they were literally cutting a chunk of him off at a time.
Wow, that's harsh, Brian, but I can understand.
No, I don't have a problem with a documentary, but a 6-part documentary, we gotta really make sure people, you know, and we're gonna advertise it, we're gonna get people to subscribe, and you know, on and on and on it goes. It's like there are things that are obviously more interesting to me than that. I mean, the guy isn't working yet. Let's, you know, give him a job. Somebody hire him in the National Football League.
Hey, I hear there's a great opening at Wendy's in Atlanta. He could be part of the rebuild crew.
You're not laughing, Rox. Okay, that pretty well covers the whole Colin Kaepernick story. You know, to me, it's overkill. Let him ply his trade. Let him do his job. That's all I care about.
And not the decent song by Colin Hay, by the way.
Yes.
Totally different overkill.
Yes. You know, here's the other thing. It's gone way beyond Colin Kaepernick. That is just a distant point of reference. Now it's obviously much more vivid and more highly populated issue than one man kneeling on a football field. So it's kind of late in my mind to be running Colin Kaepernick stuff. And I don't like Netflix anyway. Rox likes Netflix.
I would like to watch that show.
Oh yeah, you're all over my ass. Get Netflix, get Netflix. I had Netflix for years. You know what they do? They fuck you at the
drive-through.
Fuck you at the drive-through. Yeah.
They give you a tuna sandwich when you want roast beef. Goddamn.
Yeah. Oh no! I'm not taking the tuna.
I am way behind on Orange is the New Black. I need to catch up on that.
Orange is the New Black. What the hell is that?
Totally over.
It's a women's prison show.
That's good. It's good.
How did you know that, Brian?
Because I used to watch
Brian knows all the women's prison shows.
My God.
He used to have a show called Prisoner from Cell Block H that was Australian, showed over on England. And that was awesome. And I think that's where they stole the concept from. Lots of lesbians.
I
know women's prison shows. I know that show. It's a good show.
Prisoner Cell Block H.
Both of them.
This is one of the things I wanted to share is this. Cleveland.com. This is your last free exclusive
story.
God,
you're joking. I haven't been on Cleveland.com.
Oh my.
Look at this.
I don't want to say why, but
you can subscribe now to our exclusive content. And you know, Terry Pluto masturbating next to his typewriter is not exclusive.
Everybody knows that.
Exactly. I mean, isn't this the most ridiculous thing in the world? Why do you even have a website?
Maybe they'll have makeup tips from Mary Kay Cabot.
Now, all you have to do is go over to Cleveland.com and click on all the stories, and it only comes up on one or two of them that is exclusive content. Where's the rest of it coming from?
Twitter?
Yeah, exactly.
Unnamed sources.
Total crack.
Wow. I didn't realize they had a paywall. That's just absolutely. Well, no one's buying Cleveland Plain Dealer, obviously. I think when my dad died, that was the last person who bought the Plain Dealer. So there you go. Yeah.
Well, for Cleveland Browns fans, you know, it was really interesting. Who was our 4th round pick in the last draft? Do you remember?
This year?
Was it the tight end?
That's good.
What was Austin Mack?
Bryant?
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, Harrison Bryant.
Harrison Bryant, very good.
Congratulations. Right. You get to watch all the Hallmark Christmas shows next month.
Oh, yeah. The one from FAU.
That's the one.
The athletic white guy.
Yeah.
Well, athletic, I don't know. Here's, and I'm sharing.
He had a white and red uniform. I mean, he stands out.
Yeah, exactly.
Am I sharing this screen right now with y'all?
No, I'm popping up. You don't want my half a face.
Nope, that's
on
Steve.
That's the missing Brian.
And there goes my lunch.
And there's Brian.
Okay, I will go ahead and share this then. I mean, this is interesting.
He dominated.
Yeah, yep. It says by any analytical statistic, he dominated. All right.
He dominated.
But keep reading. All right. He made people miss. All right. He forced 12 missed tackles. That was number 1 in the draft class, tied.
Wow.
He had a 54.2% catch rate on contested catches. He's got good hands. All right. And he's not afraid to block because he was an offensive lineman previously. The only way he got into college was to become a tight end. A tight end, by the way, is like being a catcher in the major leagues. Okay. I mean, if you're not athletic enough to do this, or this, if you're not big enough to do this or athletic enough, maybe you can be a tight end. That's what it's like being a catcher in Major League Baseball. I mean, if you got a good arm, but you're not good enough to be a pitcher, you could be a catcher maybe. And you won't even necessarily have to hit that well. Just look
and if you're super flexible, you can be Tony Pena.
Right. I mean, there are some catchers, of course, who are great hitters.
Tony Pena was Bronx size. I mean,
yeah. I mean,
not very tall.
Exactly.
We've seen some.
I'm glad you clarified that.
hey,
I'm sure they're going. And
I'm sure Tony Pena in 2020 is about Bronx size.
Now, here's the other side of the line. He ran a 4.73 in the 40. Oh, which
That's
way
better
did he
than
go?
me.
Which way did he
That's
go?
some offensive lineman stats there.
Yeah, a 32 and a half inch vertical. Don't throw the ball up to him, Baker.
Facts.
And 13
Yeah.
reps on the bench press.
Yeah, well, bench press is boring, isn't it? So,
Yeah.
give him a break.
And who was missing the tackles against him? Well, at FAU, God only knows. All right. But he dropped a lot of passes. His 10.4% drop rate is one of the worst in the class. And he only has 9.5-inch hands, which are maybe even a little bit larger than Donald Trump's. So you look at this and you say, he's almost 6'5" and 243 pounds, but he's not fast. He can block. He's a willing blocker, but he's not powerful, big offensive line big. So where does this guy fit in? And you know, everybody wants to say, oh, there's always one guy in the draft who's going to stand out and be the guy who we remember. But anyone can jump in on the panel on this. Is this David Njoku insurance? Is this like if Njoku returns to form and basically either gets hurt or drops everything thrown his way or runs the wrong patterns? We know that Njoku cannot block. All right. So what is Harrison Bryant? Anybody?
We're going to be running multiple tight end sets and running the ball. At least, God, I hope we are. You know?
Well,
Hopefully another
Harrison,
lead blocker for Chubb or
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, we already got the guy from Minnesota who was the fullback, and I'm blanking on his name.
Yeah, we got the fullback and we got another tight end too.
no. We got the one. Well, we originally signed the guy from that was from the practice squad on the Vikings.
Right. That's what I mean.
And
Not the
then
starting
we
fullback.
and then we also got the guy from Denver, who's
Right. That's right. That's right. Yep.
And the guy from Denver is basically like another Klein Saucer who played for years for the Vikings.
Yes. I mean, slow white guy city. I don't know for sure if any of this is going to mean anything, although it's going to be who runs the system.
How fast was Gary Barnage?
Well, that's what the next thing I was going to say. We've seen slow tight ends. It's how well you run the system that really matters. And this is going to be a system-driven team. Unlike seemingly in many years past, especially the most recent one.
There was no system.
No. And but it is a very system-oriented thing with Stefanski. And maybe he feels he needs insurance at that position, or maybe he's a practice squad player. You know, maybe he's a guy who will see the field on special teams because he's not afraid to hit people. I really don't know. But I don't see him as being the breakout guy who is besides, you know, the top guy, you know. But
do we still have the Valve around? When did we get rid of him if he's not around?
No, he's been gone. He's been gone, you know.
unless they think this guy's going to be another Milt Morin or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, the other guy in this draft is a guy named Jordan Elliott. He's a defensive tackle, and the Browns, we know that Sheldon Richardson got one more year, and he's going to be off. Then you've got Ogunjobi, who's going to be gone next year to free agency. Sheldon Richardson is more a matter of if he doesn't really come up large, they're paying him too much money, and they're not going to anymore. You know, Jordan Elliott allegedly is a real point of attack defensive tackle and could be a guy who was like Ogunjobi when he first came up, somebody who can penetrate the line, take advantage of gaps, and get into the backfield. And I think that that's as good as that gets. He's going to be a spot player. So I don't know. I mean, everybody will say that Jedrick Wills is the guy who's going to be the most important guy. To be very honest with you, I don't see the lower round picks, 4th, 5th, 6th round people really making a big impact for the Cleveland Browns. But,
Well, that's Sheldrick Woodline territory anyway. You know, I mean, when do they ever? They do every now and then.
Where did they draft Phillips? Was he a third-round pick?
you mean the safety?
No, the linebacker from LSU.
Oh, the LSU guy who was the forgotten man at LSU. Yeah, that was.
Yeah, all he did was lead the goddamn team in tackles. That's it.
It was either 3rd or 5th round.
It's not like he ever accomplished anything down there.
Well, no,
Never
but
did
I mean,
anything.
well, the same thing can be said about Mac Wilson. I mean, there's a lot of similarity between those two players in the sense that nobody says that they have a problem hitting people, and not that they have a problem necessarily tackling people. The real question is schematically whether they take the right route to make the tackle. And you misjudge your line, as far as your angle that you take to tackle somebody. In college, you can get away with that. In the pros, the speed is too great. And I think those are the questions.
Phillips was drafted in the 3rd round. He was our 2nd pick in the 3rd round. So he was drafted in between Elliott and Harrison Bryant.
All right. So, and God only knows we need a linebacker. But we've got a bunch of linebackers that nobody really knows what they can and cannot do.
Yeah, who knows what Taki and Mac Wilson and all that can, what did they show last year?
Linebacker has been the weakest position since the Browns came back in 1999. I mean, honest to God, you look at the people who have manned the position, and we have not had a dominant linebacker. And we watch the Steelers and the Ravens go from year to year to year, developing, drafting, more and more good linebackers over the course of the last 21 years. And what in the fuck do we have to show for it? So I'm not real high on, I think drafting in bunch might be the right approach because, I mean, Taki has the attitude, but does he really have the ability to cover people in the NFL? And, or is he going to be a glorified special teams player? And you just don't know. Do you know who Jeremiah Braswell is?
I remember Jeremiah Castile, not Braswell.
One time I heard Jeremiah was a bullfrog.
He was a friend of mine.
Good friend of mine. He was a good friend of mine, too. That's a mighty fine
Chris
wine.
Berman had Ronaldo Nehemiah was a bullfrog.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, Brian doesn't know the answer. He's a receiver for your Arizona Cardinals, Brian. But but not anymore. He was arrested Saturday on suspicion of drunk driving. Get this.
Oh, okay.
How drunk was he?
He drove his car off an embankment into Lake Erie.
Wow, he's a long way from Arizona then. God,
that's
right. Be really hammered.
Here's the best part of the story. They found him.
He was on his way to Canada.
Oh, he was
decided to swim the rest of the way.
Yeah, he's giving Hugh Jackson a ride.
Yeah. He's from Toledo. He was still in the driver's seat of the orange Camaro that he was driving, which was in the water, 6:30 on Saturday. He was still trying to drive the car forward and said he was stuck. His speech was slurred, and he did not know how.
This has Michael Floyd written all over it.
I mean, this is just
for those who don't remember. Michael Floyd was a pretty decent receiver for the Cardinals. He and a bunch of other Cardinals went out to a Scottsdale bar at Fashion Square, and when he left, he fell asleep in his Mercedes at a street light, and the motorcycle cops watched his car sit through 4 red lights before they went up to arrest him or check him out. And he was sound asleep.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine like punching the gas and you can't understand why you're not moving in the water? I mean,
Or maybe you thought you had one of those James Bond Camaros that, you know, go into the water and go and then come out.
oh, by the way,
Nose Island.
he played at Youngstown State. He was a Penguin, and he was only an undrafted free agent. So it's not like the Cardinals are losing anything, but you know, something about these players who came from Toledo. No comments for the Cleveland Browns.
Officer, I think my engine's flooded.
Yeah, literally. That's exactly. He flooded the compartment.
Hey, I guess we finally found Journey's South Detroit. It's called Toledo, Ohio.
Yeah. Southernmost suburb.
Here's another good one. What you watch on TV. You know, watching ESPN through the years, you know, I guess we all kind of have our favorite sports commentators. It's hard for me because honestly, I used to assess air talent in the radio industry, and so much of what I see is our former athletes who don't make the grade. When I see a guy who is a former athlete who takes his work seriously, like Richard Jefferson, then I'm all for it. I think that's a wonderful thing. But the guy who I really disliked the most on ESPN was Will Cain, and he's gone. He's dumped out. And now he's jumped to Fox News, which doesn't surprise me because that's why I didn't like him in the first place. Although he never would come out and say it. Everything that came out of his mouth did say it. But not as a sports guy. He is going to be the third co-host of Fox and Friends Weekend. Isn't that special?
I guess we're getting the tour of Delta.
Yeah.
It's Uncle Fester.
What's happening?
Hey, Tony, what's up?
Hey. I'm on lunch break. I figured I'd check in.
Oh, yeah.
So we are getting the tour of Delta.
Tony, I want you to do me a favor. Could you?
Yeah.
Say $1 billion. Okay.
Billion.
I knew you had to jump on, Tony, knowing that the show was getting worse and worse, and you've been pointing that out.
that soundboard.
You thought you'd come here and just take it all the way down, huh?
Well, now, I mean, that's right. It was, and I'm not going to argue with you. I mean, let's just throw it in the dumper, you know, and be done with it.
You'll be seeing a lot of me coming soon.
We're seeing a lot of you right now, actually.
God, be nice. Be
I mean,
nice.
Tony the calf we're talking about, goddammit.
I could take my shirt off, Bronco. I don't know.
Right?
Oh.
Ooh.
What are you going to do? Fire him? Congratulations on the new gig, though.
Yeah.
I hope it
Yeah,
works.
that's good.
Best of luck to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sucks to be leaving here, but, you know, you got to have job security in these days.
Yeah.
So where are you going now?
Amazon.
Amazon? You mean
Yeah, it's
like
going to work for
Brazil.
Bezos.
for large women?
Yeah. Amazonian women.
Not even
Here's
the
for
river.
swimming with bow-legged women.
Where are you moving?
I'm staying in Minneapolis.
Oh, okay. And what are you going to do for Amazon?
Delivery driver.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Go
wow.
fly
So
one
you're
of
going
the
to be
drones.
a prime driver.
I don't have to deal with people all day other than saying hi and giving them their package. It's great. Now I
Giving
just,
them your
Congratulations.
package?
yeah, I don't want to get arrested for giving them my package.
My goodness. No, that's good. Congratulations are in order. That's,
Yeah.
you
What the
know,
hell's
fun.
the fire department doing here?
You know, they're
Oh.
those prime vans are all over, you know, and I saw a big one.
Are
Not
they
just the-
ubiquitous?
How
Yeah, they're
big
ubiquitous.
Oh.
How big was it?
No, I mean, seriously, it was like a truck. It wasn't like the smaller mobile vans that they're using. It was huge, man. It
Kind of like a
was
CDL kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it was as big as, what's the name of the,
Humvee?
A rider? Rider truck?
yeah,
Big
it was
old
like
truck.
that. it was like, man, I didn't realize they had trucks that big in their fleet.
Well, but
Shit, people are.
you got to think that if you're ordering like a 70-inch TV, that's not going to fit in like a regular cargo van.
Right.
And that's a heavy son of a bitch too.
Well, there's so many people buying shit nowadays because nobody wants to go out because of the virus. So, shit, I'll buy my toilet paper on Amazon. I'll buy my, essentials on Amazon.
Well, I'm buying a lot of things on Amazon, and in many cases, they're less expensive. It was funny. I was over at Walgreens, which is one of the two big, at least here in Florida, pharmacies.
Medical conglomerates, yeah.
Yeah, and they were having a sale on suntan lotion, right? And down here, I mean, we're in 107 degree, heat index time. And, leave it to a Jewish guy to look for a sale in Florida in the summer on suntan lotion. And it was like, okay, it's buy one, get one 50% off, blah, blah, blah. Yet when I went on to Amazon, their price was cheaper than the sale price at Walgreens. So, I mean, there are some things that are stuff that you used to get at the drugstore. You don't even have to bother going into the pharmacy where, God only knows what the guy before you had. I'm not talking COVID. I'm talking chlamydia, we're talking, this is serious business.
Wow.
Well, it is Florida. Wasn't that one of the bigger leper colonies at one point?
Leprechaun colonies?
Leprechaun.
Leprosy.
Oh, I was saying, I've never seen a leprechaun
It's a
colony
Lucky
here.
Charm.
There are a lot of
Don't touch their Lucky Charms. They're not magically delicious. believe
And
me.
everyone's always after them. I don't know what
Yeah,
that's
I know.
all about. But Costco here and around the country, they made eye-raising news by saying we're going to be offering free food
Eye-raising.
samples again at given locations. But
No,
now
thank you.
Costco has they give and they take away. Get this. They've quietly stopped selling their $20 half sheet cakes. Now, this is interesting. That was a big thing, I guess, at Costco. I've never been a Costco guy. I've got a membership card.
Must be a good thing because they probably taste like sheet.
No, I mean,
Yeah, that was the headline of the paper. No sheet, says Costco.
but what they're doing is they're not selling them anymore. They're telling people, no, you got to get the 10-inch round
Daryl
cakes.
Sheets could not be reached for comment.
They say you get the 10-inch cake, and
Big 10-inch cake.
Yeah, big 10-inch.
Hey, Aerosmith
Aerosmith.
used to have a song, My Big 10-inch.
Aerosmith, yeah.
10-inch record. Yep.
Toys in the Attic along with Anne Frank. So yeah,
but
everything comes
that was
together.
not an Aerosmith song originally.
No, it was a
No, that-
blues song from
Yes.
Cover song.
God knows when.
God only knows when is right. It was like 1930s.
Yeah, it's one
Long
of them
time
race
ago.
records.
Yeah,
A long time ago.
yeah, it's true. That is. a
Yeah, I'm
true
not
story.
making this up.
No, you can look it up. You can listen to it. But the half sheet cakes, do you know how many people a half sheet cake fed?
I think it's
I
think it's 10 li-
Brian, that would be the three of us, I think.
yeah.
Oh, stop.
Yeah.
I am not inclusive in this
half-
conversation.
A half sheet of cake, I think, fed 10 people, if I remember.
I think
right.
if I remember right, it fed the whole town of Ashtabula, Ohio at one point.
There you go. I mean, no, the half sheet cake.
Yeah, like I said, 10 people.
No, the answer is around 50 people, while the 10-inch round cake serves around a dozen people.
Oh,
And,
okay.
and to really imagine how large the half sheet cake is compared to the 10-inch cake, think of forget it. There will be no Ron Jeremy.
So
This is
a lot
a
of
long
people,
way to go for that comment. A very long way to go.
Yeah,
a
really.
lot of people get sheet faced, huh?
But do you want to?
Ron Jeremy's is
What is that, by-
sheet cake.
But you
What
want
is
to
that,
know
like a
why
4x3?
they claim- why they claim they're no longer selling the half sheet cakes.
No, tell
Why?
us.
Well, nobody's
please.
there aren't any big gatherings or
That's
parties
what
or
they're
anything.
saying. But what about the people who bought them because they were only $20 and they were a lot cheaper than buying 10-inch cakes and they'd freeze the goddamn things?
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
There you
let's
go.
blame COVID for everything. It's all a bunch of crap. They don't want to sell $20 cakes anymore. They want to sell 10-inch ones that are far
For
more
$20.
expensive. And people don't want them.
Don't buy them, man.
Yeah. I mean, I thought that was kind of an interesting thing. I mean, it's like, what else can they say is COVID related? Who would have thought half sheet cakes?
Well,
Wow.
all the being a kind of a resort town and a destination town, all of the wedding planners and there's a lot of them that are going belly up, and people have had deposits and all kinds of stuff set aside or had prepaid, and they can't get their money, they can't get their wedding dresses, they can't do, their events are closed, so it's fucked a lot of people.
Now get this. The latest COVID-19 drug that's being pimped and promoted for profit. How's that? Is that alliterative enough? Pimped? Yeah. For profit.
Pimping for profit.
Yeah. Gilead Sciences
Is there
remdesivir.
nonprofit pimping out there? I never thought there was.
Remdesivir is the name of the drug.
Well, clearly you've never been to a leper colony then.
No, or a leprechaun colony either.
Right. So remdesivir is the name of the drug. And they're saying that per vial, all right, which is pretty vile, per vial is $390 for the US government. All right. And of course, you know that Trump's already put his order in. $390 per vial. Now get this.
Costs $10 to make.
But a vial's only 1 day's worth. A typical 5-day treatment course would include 6 vials, which would equate to $2,340 per patient. All right. The private U.S. insurance companies, the price will be $520 a vial, which is $3,120 for a 5-day treatment. You know, and you wonder.
There was also another drug that I saw a story for that started with an A. It was supposed to be a COVID-19 treatment. I can't think of what it was.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
So-
to me, and of course, Medicaid does not get the discounted price, you know, but VA and Department of Defense hospitals do. So, you know, to me, it's a ridiculous situation. Again, is the drug it's not a cure-all drug. It's something that might help some people, but it's going to be something that they're building up demand on, and foreign countries and all over the world are going to buy it at that price, and they're going to sell more of it, stockpile it, and it will end up in a warehouse just like the last one, hydroxychloroquine, did, because by itself, it really doesn't do a whole hell of a lot.
But in combination, it did.
In combination, it did. You know, I think that, but now the CDC has just said it doesn't do anything, period. They got 63 million doses of that. And that's a lot of hydroxychloroquine. But, you know, people who have lupus are celebrating. They're waiting for that shit to go on sale at Amazon, you know. I wanted to point this out to Bronk. I'm glad you're on the show.
All right.
Okay. Well, I'm always glad you're on the show, Bronk. But yeah, I mean,
especially now.
We have an image of the British. Okay.
No, let's hear it. You're probably not allowed to do this anymore.
No, Americans have the belief that anything that comes out of a British person's mouth is truth and honesty. No. I'm saying that's why all the spokespeople, you know, OxyClean's the brand that works. You know, we get all of these spokespeople.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
John
they're more
Houseman and all
believable.
these types.
Research shows that it's more believable coming out of the mouth of somebody who has a British accent, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to share a story, just for the sake of sharing it. All right. Share away. Now, Bronk.
Yeah, that's I'm sure that let's go. I'll tell you what's going on.
Tell me.
Yeah.
I want to hear this.
I have not seen this story, nor do I know about, but I will speak of something that I do know about.
Well, it kind of smells bad on the surface. Go ahead.
On the seacoast here and in other seacoast towns, it's been very, very hot here in England. Not as hot as
They're just
Arizona.
fertilizing the gardens.
Okay, Brian. It's been very hot here, and because of COVID, they are not opening up public toilets. So idiots are driving in their car, getting out of their hot houses, and going to vacation spots, which in this case would include Queen Elizabeth's Scottish mansion. And because there's no toilets open, they are peeing everywhere, and they are shitting inside of cardboard boxes and leaving it.
So it's a lot like France now.
It's a bit.
Or Seattle.
A bit like, well, if people don't have toilets to go into, they have one choice: keep it in and die, or pee your shit wherever they are, and that's what's been going on.
I mean, what a great quote. This is the staff at Balmoral.
Balmoral,
Yeah.
that is in Scotland.
Just disappointed to see so many wipes discarded on the estate today. People are wiping their rectums, for goodness sakes, and dropping it off by the Queen's Scottish estate. Oh, it sounds like Peter Alice. Oh, shit in the Queen's front yard again. Oh.
This is absolutely. I don't know about this incident in particular, but I can speak about other people doing this and complaining about it. So yeah, we got a big problem with. We've always had a problem with London.
So is London going to start looking more like San Francisco?
Well, let me explain this again. People are leaving London. They're leaving cities. They're leaving. They're going to resort areas. They're going to the coast, and they're shitting and pissing because the resort areas are not opening up the public toilets. So that's what's going
but,
on.
you know,
So London is
for a
clear.
better
London is
vacation.
clean. There's nobody fucking there.
It
I don't
is
think-
instant relief.
Oh,
Brian, I
I
don't
mean,
think you have to worry about hypodermic needles laying on the streets of London.
Yeah. Well, you know.
oh, I don't know. They had a pretty bad heroin epidemic
That's
not
more
too
up
long
in
ago,
Scotland.
right?
That's more up in
Oh, the
Scotland.
pooper scoopers should come out in Scotland. Oh. The birthplace of what was once referred to as golf,
Golf.
which became the game of golf. And
Yeah, Nixon played golf.
yeah. Well, I guess I wanted an explanation from you because I mean the thought of people defecating in the estate of the Queen was like, gee.
Well, it's not hard to think about, really. I mean, I gave the explanation. There's no public toilets and people are driving.
Yeah, I mean, you don't think of that though. I mean, you know, it's like, but yeah, it makes sense. In Scotland, you go drink a pint, you gotta unload it somewhere, you know. So, why not on the Queen's yard?
Where's the bloody Exxon station?
Oh, for good. Oh, they've got the secret cameras on Balmoral, and look at that. I mean, could you imagine the videos they have of people like squatting? I don't mean living, I mean literally squatting, you know.
And the security footage alone would be, you know,
priceless. You put Benny Hill music to it.
Yeah.
You got what
Wait
you
for the
need.
Accelerate
DVD to
it.
come out.
Put it on like 4 times speed, and then the Benny Hill music.
Yeah, yakety sax.
Boots Randolph, right?
There you go.
That's right.
There you go. All right. It's 7 o'clock, so we made it through another hour. Just
And it
everything.
ended on a very shitty note, didn't it?
It's exactly right. But I was curious. I mean, you know, it's
No,
you
I
know,
Did hit the fan.
I will give that story a 4-star truth on the 5-star truth meter.
Yeah, but I mean, a headline, that's a great headline. The people are defecating on the Queen's lawn. I mean, you got to give them credit. It's an attention grabber, you know?
Correct.
And Tony, congratulations on your job with Amazon, and just be a careful
Tony.
driver and do everything the way you're supposed to. And Jim from Flavortown, thanks always. And Rick, always. And Bronk, always. Nelson.
Do it again next month.
Free Nelson Mandela.
And Pico.
Yeah, just don't bomb any buildings.
Oh, sorry. I was going into a Peter Gabriel moment. And Ron's always the steady.
Hey, by the way, I mentioned Stephen Biko while we were going back and forth about Mandela and his bombing expedition.
Yeah, you stole my next name. I was going to have Stephen Biko, but now I got to come up with. You know how many columnists? You know, I'm running out of names to use.
Yeah,
use it. I'll sing for you.
Yeah, that's a good one.
All right, everybody. Thanks a lot for tuning into this edition of Moohead Radio. Back again on Friday, and we'll find out more what's going on. Until next time, hasta la vista, Pasture Heads. Good night.